Thunder. In the modern imagination, that usually means one thing: a hammer, a cape, and a superhero landing. But in the original Norse stories, Thor is something older and honestly stranger. He's the defender of the gods, the shield of humanity, the storm that keeps chaos at bay, and also a god who can be tricked, embarrassed, and even forced into disguise. And if that sounds contradictory, good. Because Norse myth is built on contradictions. The gods aren't perfect, they aren't all-powerful. And even the strongest among them can't simply punch reality into submission. So today, we're meeting Thor before Marvel, what he represents, what his hammer really means, 3 of his most important myths, and why his final battle at Ragnarök turns him into something more than just the strong guy. To understand Thor, we need to understand the world he lives in. Norse myth isn't a universe where the gods created everything and can do anything. It's a world that already exists, dangerous, wild, and unstable. The gods build walls, make treaties, fight wars, and keep watch, because without constant effort, everything slides back into chaos. And here's the key: in Norse stories, order is not guaranteed. There is always pressure from outside, always something trying to break in, always something older, wilder, and hungrier. That's why the mythic map matters. You've got Asgard, the world of the gods, Midgard, the world of humans, and beyond them, realms that feel like wilderness personified, especially Jotunheim, the land of the jötnar, usually translated as giants. Which brings us to a word that gets misunderstood all the time. When people hear giants, they imagine a fantasy enemy faction. But the jötnar aren't just big monsters waiting to be slain. In Norse myth, they're more like forces of the outside. Wild nature, winter, the untamed mountains, the sea, hunger, darkness, and everything that doesn't fit inside the walls. Sometimes they're enemies, sometimes they're relatives, sometimes they're lovers. The gods even marry into them. But the tension is constant. The world stays livable only as long as the boundary holds. And if you had to pick one god whose job is basically hold the boundary, it's Thor. Thor is not the ruler of the gods. That's Odin. Thor is not the smooth talker. That's rarely anyone in Norse myth, but Loki certainly tries. Thor is the one who shows up when things get physical, when the walls are threatened, when chaos crosses the line. He's often described as a traveler, a man of the road. Not a distant, mysterious sky father, but a presence you can imagine nearby. Thunder rolling over your village, a storm that feels like protection as much as danger. And he's not portrayed as endlessly wise. Thor is direct, stubborn, brave, sometimes loud, sometimes impulsive. But he's not a joke. Because in a mythic world where the outside is always pressing in, the one who stands in the doorway matters more than the one who sits on the throne. And that contrast, Thor versus Odin, is one of the best ways to understand him. Odin is strategy, sacrifice, and secrets. He bargains, plots, studies runes, trades an eye for wisdom, and plays the long game. Thor is the opposite. He's the short game, immediate defense. The force that responds now. If Odin is the one trying to understand fate, Thor is the one trying to keep the world standing long enough for anyone to have a future at all. So when we talk about Thor, we're not just talking about strength, we're talking about a specific role, the protector of Midgard. And nothing symbolizes that role more than his hammer. Mjölnir is famous as a weapon, an instant return hammer that can smash giants like they're made of stone. But in the mythic imagination, Mjölnir is also a tool of consecration, a thing that marks boundaries and makes spaces safe. The hammer is linked to protection in a way that feels almost ritual. Thor is often described with a full loadout, like a mythic soldier prepared for cosmic war. The hammer Mjölnir, the strength belt Mjölnir, and iron gloves Jörmungandr, because the hammer is so powerful you don't just grab it barehanded. He rides in a chariot pulled by goats, and when the thunder cracks in the sky, that isn't just weather. It's Thor on the move, the protector traveling the borders of reality. So what happens when that hammer, this cosmic stabilizer, gets stolen? That's where our first myth begins. One day, Thor wakes up and reaches for Mjölnir and it's gone. Not misplaced, not missing, stolen. And the reaction tells you everything. The gods don't shrug. They panic, because Mjölnir isn't just Thor's favorite weapon. Without it, the boundary weakens. So the gods do what they often do in Norse myth. They call in Loki. Because Loki is chaos, yes, but he's also the one who can move through chaos, negotiate with it, manipulate it. Loki investigates, and the truth comes back. A giant named Thrym has stolen the hammer, and he's willing to return it on one condition. He wants Freyja as his bride. The gods bring this demand to Freyja, and she reacts with pure fury. She doesn't just say no, she practically shakes the hall with rage. So the gods face a terrifying problem: no hammer, a giant holding the balance hostage, and no obvious way to force it back. Then someone suggests a plan so ridiculous it can only be Norse myth. Thor will dress as Freyja. It's easy to laugh at this part, and you should, because the poem itself leans into the comedy. Thor, the great giant killer, is stuffed into bridal clothing. Loki goes with him, disguised as a handmaid, and they travel to Jotunheim, to the giant's hall, where Thrym is ecstatic. The feast begins, and Thor, still in disguise, eats. He eats an entire ox, 8 salmon, all the sweets. He drinks barrels of mead like a storm draining the sea. Thrym squints, suspicious. This bride is enthusiastic. And Loki, quick as ever, covers it. She hasn't eaten in days from excitement. Then Thrym tries to lift the veil to kiss his bride and sees Thor's eyes burning with anger like lightning trapped in a human face. Thrym recoils. Why are her eyes so terrifying? Loki answers smoothly. She hasn't slept in days from excitement. The lie holds, barely. Finally, the giant calls for the hammer to be brought in, so it can sanctify the wedding. And when Mjölnir is placed in the bride's lap, Thor's hands close around it, and the story snaps from comedy to violence in a heartbeat. Thor throws off the disguise and does what Thor does best. He turns the wedding into a slaughter. Giant after giant falls. The hall becomes a ruin. Mjölnir returns to its rightful owner, and the boundary holds again. This story is funny, but it's not pointless. It teaches something very Norse. Even the greatest protector can be forced into humiliation. Even Thor can be used like a pawn. Strength is not always enough. Sometimes survival requires strategy, disguise, outsmarting the outsider. And it also reveals something else. The gods don't win by being noble. They win by being effective. And the universe is not fair. Which leads us into a myth where Thor seems to lose repeatedly, until we realize the loss was the point. Thor travels to a great hall, ruled by a figure often called Útgarða-Loki. And like many mythic journeys, it turns into a test. Thor and his companions are challenged. Prove yourselves. At first, it looks simple. Eat, drink, compete. But Norse myth loves a trap, disguised as a game. One contest involves drinking from a horn. Thor, confident, lifts it and drinks. Once, twice, again. Yet the level barely moves. Impossible. Another contest demands he lift a cat. Thor grabs the animal and strains. So hard the ground groans beneath him, but he can only raise one paw off the floor. Then he's told to wrestle an old woman. Thor, the thunder god, grapples and loses. On the surface, it's humiliating. Thor, defeated in a series of basic challenges. But then comes the reveal. Útgarða-Loki explains, none of it was what it appeared. The horn Thor drank from? Its end was connected to the sea. Thor didn't fail to empty it. He lowered the ocean itself. The cat Thor couldn't lift. That wasn't a cat. It was the Midgard Serpent in disguise. And raising even one paw meant Thor nearly moved a world-encircling monster. The old woman he wrestled? That was old age. An inevitability no one beats. Thor didn't lose because he was weak. He lost because the challenges were not human challenges, they were the structure of reality wearing masks. And this myth adds depth to Thor's character. He isn't stupid, he isn't small. He's simply facing truths that can't be smashed. Even Thor can't defeat time. Even Thor can't drain the sea. Even Thor can't lift the entire world without consequence. But notice what he does accomplish. He pushes the impossible. He strains against the cosmic limit so hard, the universe has to admit he came close. And that sets the emotional tone for the biggest enemy in his story, the Midgard Serpent. Thor goes fishing with a giant named Hymir. And right away there's tension, because a giant isn't a friend. A giant is the outside, a negotiation with danger. They row into deep waters, farther than Hymir wants to go. Thor is not here for normal fish. He prepares bait. Some tellings describe the head of an ox, and casts the line into darkness. Then something bites. The ocean changes. The line tightens, like a chain pulled across the world. And rising from the sea comes Jörmungandr, the Midgard Serpent, the creature so vast it encircles the world. This is one of those moments where myth feels like an ancient nightmare. The horizon isn't a horizon anymore, it's a living body. Thor braces himself, lightning in his eyes, feet planted, hands locked, hauling the serpent upward. This is not a fight over pride, this is a fight over whether the boundary exists. Thor raises Mjölnir to strike. And then, depending on the version, Hymir panics, he cuts the line. Or the serpent slips away. Jörmungandr sinks back into the deep. Thor's victory is denied. But the myth leaves us with a promise. This fight isn't over. It's only postponed. Because the Norse universe moves toward an ending. And here's something worth noticing. Thor's myths swing wildly in tone. One moment, he's the terrifying defender of reality. The next moment, he's in a bridal dress at a feast, trying not to look like a thunderstorm pretending to be a woman. That tonal shift isn't an accident. In oral storytelling traditions, comedy isn't disrespect, it's a tool. It makes stories memorable, it releases tension, it teaches the audience. Even sacred figures can be complicated, and even the cosmic battle has absurd moments. Norse myth doesn't build its gods as perfect idols. It builds them as forces inside a harsh world, and that harsh world is heading somewhere. At Ragnarök, the doom of the gods, the boundaries finally break. The world shakes, the monsters rise, the old enemies cross the line in full force. And Thor meets Jörmungandr again. This time there is no fishing line to cut, no illusion to reveal, no disguise. Just the thunder god and the world serpent, face to face. Thor fights and kills Jörmungandr. And for a brief second, it's the victory you expect. The protector triumphs. But Norse myth does not give free victories. The serpent's poison fills the air. Thor staggers. He takes 9 steps and falls. And that ending is what turns Thor into more than a power fantasy. Because in Norse myth, heroism isn't about living forever. It's about doing the job anyway, even when the cost is inevitable. Thor's purpose is not to win the universe. It's to hold the line as long as possible, so there can be a world to live in at all. Now, if you're thinking, Marvel Thor is nothing like this, you're half right. Marvel gives Thor a modern hero arc, personal growth, family conflict, redemption, humor that fits modern storytelling. But the mythic Thor is less about self-discovery and more about cosmic duty. He's the wall, the storm, the defender you pray for when the outside feels too close. Different stories, different needs. But the core is surprisingly consistent. Thor is the one who stands between the world and what wants to break it. So when thunder rolls in the distance, Thor isn't just the god of thunder. He's the sound of protection in a world that doesn't promise safety. A reminder that strength has a purpose, and that even purpose comes with a price. In the myths, Thor doesn't win forever. He wins enough. He holds the line, and that might be the most human kind of divinity there is. And now I'd love to hear from you. Which Thor myth hits hardest? The hammer theft, the impossible contests, or the clash with the world serpent? Drop your pick in the comments. If you liked this myth deep dive, give it a like, subscribe for more stories, and comment your favorite version of this myth, or who you want next. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you in the next video.